Once a classmate accused me in front of the teacher of not doing anything on the group project and I almost failed because she said, "Teacher, this slacker didn't even write a single paragraph. I did everything." So I just stayed quiet and the teacher told me, "You get a 0. But it turns out that same afternoon, she sent me a message crying, "Help!" The USB drive with the whole project got wiped and we have to turn it in tomorrow. And I replied, "That's tough luck. I do have my backup." So she begged me for 2 hours to give her the project. And in the end, I had to send her everything because she didn't have anything. And after all, I already had a 0. So the next day, the teacher asked, "Who saved the project?" And the whole class pointed at me. That classmate lost her USB and almost went down with me. But Tizoc lost something worse, his Nintendo Switch forever. Because once my little cousin Tizoc had his Nintendo Switch taken away forever. Because his mom asked him to take out the trash. But the guy didn't listen and left it in the kitchen for 3 days. So when his mom came back, she saw that the house smelled like a zoo. She took away his console, put it on the top of the closet, and told him to forget about it until further notice. But the fool Tizoc tried to climb the closet like a monkey, but the useless guy fell and knocked down all his mom's things. And from that day on, Tizoc was condemned to live without his Switch forever. After seeing Tizoc fall from the closet, I remembered the time I also hit rock bottom. I ended up hiding in the bathrooms out of fear of love. Back when I was in elementary school, I became the ultimate girl repeller because 2 girls from middle school treated me like their little toy, and all I wanted was to play pogs with my buddy Panzas. But they would chase me around yelling, "Come here, little prince." And me, at 9 years old, was more scared than interested in flirting. I went to the principal, Miss Mophead, but she just said, "Oh sweetie, enjoy life." And I didn't want to enjoy anything, I just wanted to escape, and I ended up hiding in the bathrooms, but they found me. And at that moment, the spirit descended. Grandma Chona, the demon hunter, with her rosary like a legendary weapon, shouting, "No one touches my boy here." Since that day, I've been an urban legend. Grandma Chona scared the girls away, but in my kitchen, there was something even more mysterious that scared me every single night. Well, one time I thought there was a ghost in my kitchen that always scared me at 1:30 in the morning, because every time I went downstairs to make myself a midnight snack or just to get some water while everyone else was already asleep, you could hear a trumber, trum-brum, and the first time it happened to me, I ran out faster than my uncle. I even left my poor little sandwich there, and the next morning it was covered in ants. But then, the same thing kept happening to me on other days, until one day I checked the time and saw it was 1:30 in the morning. So, one time, I gathered my courage and decided to go downstairs at that hour to see what that sound was. But to my surprise, it was the ice maker in the freezer dropping ice cubes into the bin, and that's why it sounded like that. Nothing else. There's nothing. It doesn't exist. Well, at least I went downstairs for food and ran out. But Mbappé did the opposite. He got a huge piece of meat stuck and froze up. He almost ended up in the cemetery. One time, my nephew Mbappé choked on a big piece of meat at a barbecue. But I saved him and he almost ended up in the cemetery. Because that guy eats really fast and keeps talking while he eats. So that day he was like, "Oh yeah," like I was saying, well that day, but nobody had noticed that he was choking. Until we saw that he had gotten really quiet and started saying, "I'm choking." And then I see him and he's already kind of turning purple, so I start doing the Heimlich maneuver. And since that guy can open his mouth wider than a crocodile, in the end he shoved his whole hand in and managed to pull out the huge piece of meat. That day we learned that a barbecue can knock the wind out of you, but a Christmas gift can take away the peace of the whole family. It turns out that once, when it was Christmas, a boom 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 started sounding in the yard like someone was shooting up the neighborhood. And we all thought it was the end of the world, but it turned out to be Panzas trying to force open a gift. Then the box bursts open and toys, candies, and a doll that shouted, "Merry Christmas, dogs," go flying out. As if it were possessed, and my grandma Chona crossed herself 14 times. My mom grabbed the broom as a weapon, and Moharin threw himself on the floor to protect his new skate. And since that day, that gift is officially known as the nuclear Christmas piñata. Since the nuclear Christmas piñata, anyone would have hidden the chubby kid from the parties, but in the neighborhood they didn't learn, and one day they decided to give him sparklers. What happened is that once when it was Christmas, we had the most epic posada ever in the neighborhood and everything was going perfectly. Until Chubby had the idea to use sparklers to set the mood, but when he lit them, a spark fell on the tablecloth and started the Christmas fire. Everyone was running. Tizoc was throwing water from a drum. Moharin was defending the punch table like it was a medieval fortress. And my mom was putting her bambuñuelos in the fridge like they were a national treasure. But the good thing is that in the end, my grandpa Perejilo showed up and put everything out with a sneeze. But the scare was tattooed in our memories, and since that day we really think twice about inviting that damn panzas or not. You'd think ruining Christmas with sparklers was expensive. That was until my buddy Chuleta broke a 10,000 peso perfume just for messing around. It all started when one time my friend Chuleta and I broke his mom's 10,000 peso perfume because he had invited me over to his house to play PlayStation. But when we got bored, we started playing with Nerf guns all over his house. But then Chuleta tripped over his mom's dresser and knocked over the perfume, which I think was called baccarat, all over the carpet because the cap came off. So to keep him from getting scolded, I told him, dude, fill it up with water so they won't notice. But obviously they noticed because the whole room was filled with the smell of perfume, and the perfume itself didn't smell like anything anymore. And in the end, the poor guy was punished with 3 months without playing PlayStation. FF.
Adolf Hitler, 4143, Sie weit hinter dem Kampf,
That room ended up smelling like a really expensive punishment, but my grandma smelled like something else, worse, a betrayal of mine because I wouldn't give her my internet. The reason is that once my grandma got mad at me and thought I was the worst grandson because I wouldn't share my internet with her. But it's just that one time she told me, son, don't be mean, share your internet with me, I don't have any here and I get bored. And I told her, Grandma, I can't because we're far apart with houses in between. And well, I live 30 minutes away and she thought that didn't matter. But it's not like I had Elon Musk Ultra Turbo NASA Master 4K internet. So she thought I was being a jerk to her, and every time I went to her house, she gave me a dirty look like, what a jerk. I thought the coldest thing was my grandma's stare, until one time I left the AC at 16 degrees and I almost did. I turned my girlfriend into a human popsicle. This happened when one time my girlfriend almost became a human ice pop. It was my fault because in our room we have an AC that could end global warming. And one early morning I was freezing to death because at night I forgot to set the AC to turn off by itself. We had it at 16 on turbo mode plus the fan, so half asleep. I went to the hallway park of the house to sleep because I couldn't stand the cold. My girlfriend came around 4:69 in the morning to the hallway all wrapped up in blankets, and she saw me lying on the floor and she said, I'm cold. Even my snot froze, and when I opened my eyes, I was scared to death because I thought it was the Yeti. Welcome to the Himalayas. My girlfriend almost turned into a Yeti because of the weather, until my mom revealed that the only monster in the house was me, because of my filth. Because one Christmas I got a gift that changed my life. But not for the better, because I open my presents and I see an Xbox 360 box and I happily say to my mom, Chachi mom, it's what I wanted. And I quickly opened the box to see what was inside, and it was soaps and shampoos, and I crying say to her, is this a gift or a punishment? What did I do wrong? And she answered me that it was because I was dirty and because I only took a bath a few times during the whole year, and this was the only way to see if I would stop being dirty. And in the end, they did give me the Xbox, and it was an unforgettable Christmas, because now that I had the Xbox, I bathed even less. Subscribe and tell me a Christmas story in the comments. My mom tried to save me from the dirt with shampoo, but a buddy had to be saved from a poison sandwich because once my friend El Cubito was about to eat rat poison at school. Because that guy spent all his time playing Minecraft and we called him a rat kid. So fed up, one day he brought rat poison and poured it on his food in front of everyone to prove to us that nothing would happen to him because he wasn't a rat. But just as he was about to take a bite and put it in his mouth, my friend Solovino came over and kicked his sandwich so he wouldn't eat it and go meet God. At least the little cube had a hero, because in the next story, I had to remember all by myself that I was holding a lit bomb in my hand. Well, one time my dad bought me some jumbo firecrackers and one almost exploded in my hand because I was lighting fireworks at Christmas. But when I lit one, my brother called me and I got distracted seeing what he wanted. And well, I had forgotten that I had the firecracker lit in my hand and the fuse was slowly burning down. But then it hit me that I had a firecracker in my hand, so I threw it quickly and it exploded about a meter away from me. So I got covered in newspaper, and the good thing is it didn't explode in my hand. Otherwise, I would have lost my hand. But honestly, it did leave me stunned because of the crazy noise that thing made. I almost lost a hand because I was distracted, but in the next one, my buddy El Bolillo really made us lose our dignity for not reading a movie ticket properly. One time, my friend El Bolillo embarrassed us at the movies. We almost got kicked out because my buddy is a little crazy, but I care about him a lot. We were just getting to the theater when suddenly we looked up at the seats and saw that there was a lady and a man sitting where our seats were supposed to be. And El Bolillo says to them, "Get out of here, those are our seats." And the lady kindly replies, "No, son, read your ticket carefully," but El Bolillo was absolutely sure those were our seats. So he starts yelling at the theater staff, "Move these people from my seat." And then the theater manager comes over and checks the tickets, and ours were the ones just below. The good thing is they just told us to sit down, but I was really embarrassed. "You're such a jerk." Bolillo almost got us kicked out of the theater for not reading a ticket properly, but there was once a drunk guy from the neighborhood almost left the planet because he didn't know how to light a firework properly. It turns out that once, a drunk guy from the neighborhood we called Condorito almost had a firework explode on his head. And he was about to go with El Chavo del Ocho, but honestly, he was really lucky because an uncle said, "Hey, I bought these fireworks that shoot up into the sky, but I don't know how to light them." And Condorito goes, "No problem, boss. We'll light it right now. I'm an expert at this." But it was a lie. He wasn't an expert at all because he almost blew his head off. He lit it with his face right at the barrel where the fireworks would come out. But his buddy, the Chilango, who was another drunk guy, noticed and pulled him back so he'd move his head. And if it hadn't been for him, Condorito would have gone straight to heaven, literally. Condorito almost lost his head for thinking he was a fireworks expert. Just like me when I was a kid, I almost lost my legs for thinking I was a professional trainer. What happened is that once, when I was a kid, I thought I was gonna lose my legs because I did 100 squats in a row. Because I was 11 years old and I thought I had a big belly, so I thought if I did 100 squats, I would get skinnier. But it didn't work out that way, so I started counting. 1, 2, 4, 6, 49, 60, 100. But when I finished, I tried to get up and walk, but I fell flat on my face because my legs were ridiculously tired. So I stayed there lying on the floor, not feeling anything from the waist down, afraid I was going to be paralyzed. After doing 100 squats, I learned that faith doesn't move legs. But in the next story, something even more dangerous happened. A cell phone that disappeared from existence. It all started when one time my Uncle Pity bought his son Esteban a poor old cell phone called Little Peanut Jr. because the boy cried about not having a cell phone as he was the only one at school without one and was bullied. But after he got a new phone, he was with his friends at school. And he says, "Look at that horrible cell phone." And then he goes and yells at the boy who owned the cell phone, "Throw that thing away already, it's going to explode in your hand." But then his friends tell him, shut up, yours is even worse." So the other boy came over and told him they should both throw their cell phones on the ground at the same time and whoever's broke would lose. And Esteban had a lot of faith in Cacahuatito Jr. So he threw his phone, and when it hit the ground there wasn't even a molecule left, while the other phone didn't have a single scratch. Well, goodbye, master.
Mama, I'm a